Hello everybody and welcome to UAPOD Daily with me, Digby. There is a lot to cover at the moment. We've got Steven Spielberg's new movie coming out that's called Disclosure. We've got Representative Paulina making cryptic messages on X, which is driving people into a bit of a frenzy. I want to touch on Corbell and the Immaculate Constellation situation. And just, I guess this week I've been fortunate enough to have a lot of conversations in the background with a lot of people involved in a lot of different things. Most of which I can't talk about not because I'm a gatekeeper and I never want to be a gatekeeper, but there is a situation where you do gain trust from people and you don't keep that trust if everything you say you just repeat to everybody else. But please bear in mind that anything I do know that I am keeping to myself, it's only for the better good and because I want to see disclosure happen. So actually, yeah, let's start with that one. Now, for years, there has been the Greer camp or the Lou camp and which side are you on? And that, to me, just reeks of divide and conquer. Now, divide and conquer is a tactic that's been used forever. You know, it's in The Art of War, for Christ's sake. How old's that book? And it's used against us now in everyday life. It's used against us in the political systems around the world, whether you're in US, UK, Canada, whatever. You know, it doesn't really matter. Most of us are bound by a two-party system, really, which is basically the foundations of divide and conquer. Now, why would the UFO world be any different? You've got Stephen Greer, Love and Light, and then you've got Lou Elizondo, Death and Destruction, End of the World. Which side are you on? And then you fight with the other side. Now, the more I look into it and the more I've heard behind the scenes from people involved in the background who know these people and the inner workings, the more I realise, and I'm not going to mention any names here, that there are key people out there that certain camps look towards, know and trust, who are bought and paid for by the military industrial complex, the deep state, whatever you want to call it. There are people that we think, and I'm not necessarily saying Greer or Lou Elizondo, in fact I'm not, because these aren't ones I've specifically talked about, although they have heard through third parties some involvement perhaps that these people have, but I'm not speaking of that. But there are other people in this community that have been financially compromised and physically compromised to a point where they are literally just employed to kick the can down the road to make sure that we don't get disclosure or we don't get the real disclosure. For me, and I'm sure for you, that's incredibly worrying to think that, I mean, come on, we're not stupid, right? Everybody knows that, you know, it's all been hidden in the first place. So there's obviously a plan in the background to keep it hidden from humanity for God knows how long. But when you realize that certain people out there that are front facing, that seem to be the people that should be bringing this on home, in fact aren't doing that and they're working against us, that's worrying. And it's just highlighted for me something that I've been saying over the last couple of weeks, is that disclosure needs to come from the people, and we need to stop looking at a government around the world to give us the answers that we want, because it's just not going to happen. It's not. And we have plenty of tools at our disposal to be able to bring this home without the need of a government, especially when you've got private sector companies now investing money into psionics and crash retrievals and everything like that. So, you know, I think the time for looking for a government around the world to confirm our suspicions, that's just not going to happen. And why we ever thought that person might be Chuck Schumer is beyond me. Anyway, that's enough of politics. Moving on. So Representative Paulina this week has put a very cryptic post out on X. You can see it here on the screen now, which says, "I have an announcement next week that will impact the entire nation." Notice she said nation, which is quite interesting. "Press conference date will be announced soon." Jared Moskowitz replied, "I know." I thought that was funny, his reply. But anyway, now she does say nation, not world, but generally speaking, when, American politicians are talking about things like this, they actually are only referring to their own country. And, so it doesn't necessarily mean that it won't impact the entire world, just she's thinking about the entire nation of America in this. She was asked if this was UAP related, and she said, no, it's bigger. So what is bigger? Or is the UFO topic part of it? Is she heading up some declassification group? I don't know. We're going to have to see. I hate it when people do this, though. Something big is coming next week. Why would you do that? I mean, that's just. Is it we being trolled here, or are they just trying to get more attention? Is it clickbait? It's crazy when we have, and I don't get me wrong. I have nothing wrong with or against Representative Luna whatsoever. But why do we need to do this? Why do we need to play these games? The whole subject at the moment seems like it's a game that's being played by other people for us to watch. Do you ever get the feeling that it feels like we're watching a movie and all of this is entertainment? Because that's what I'm starting to think, that we are being played. This is all a movie, not literally our whole life, but look at the subject of ufology. Is this basically entertainment at this point? I think, for me personally, I think that's what it seems, and that's why I say we need to look at disclosure in a different way and see if we can get to the bottom of it on our own. So we're going to have to wait and see next week what Representative Luna is talking about. But I have a feeling that it's probably going to do with some declassification arm of the government that she's going to head up, potentially. I think it's strange that we haven't... Actually, I don't think it's strange. But it appears strange why we haven't actually had any information on the RFK and JFK assassinations yet, and that's supposed to be declassified. I know it takes, I think I've been told it takes 14 days for it to go through the declassification process, but then I think we should be there by now. We still haven't heard anything. I wouldn't be surprised if we found out that the UFO subject and the assassination of JFK are connected. In fact, I know they're connected in the background. I don't know if it's the main reason why he was assassinated by the CIA, but I think it's part of the picture that has been painted of him in the past that led to his assassination. I know that he had had conversations with Marilyn Monroe, for instance, in the past, and that led to her death as well, potentially. But that's all rumours, and for entertainment purposes only, as everybody says. Anyway, moving on. Spielberg has got a new movie coming out, and he's just changed the name of it to Disclosure. So are we going to get the movie Disclosure before we actually get Disclosure? Well, time will tell. Maybe we should all stop looking outward for disclosure as well, and inwards, and when you realise it for yourself, maybe that's enough. But it's an interesting one, because if you look at Close Encounters and see how potentially true it is to real life, you wonder, is there something hidden in this new movie that's going to do the same? Because it felt like part of the normalization process with Close Encounters of the Third Kind. I mean, you only have to look at the Nazca mummy remains and compare them to the images of the aliens in Close Encounters. We'll get on to the Nazca mummies in a minute. So is Disclosure by Steven Spielberg going to be another one of these movies that is designed to prepare humanity? I think a lot of this happens through movies and TV shows. Narratives are created in these things. It controls public perception. I mean, look what happened to sharks after Jaws. I mean, that's enough to terrify anyone. And actually, that's actually a good point, actually, because when Close Encounters was coming out, NASA and the Air Force apparently wrote a 3-page letter to Spielberg, basically tearing him apart, telling him they can't release this movie and that it shouldn't be coming out because they were worried about the public perception of aliens because of this movie. Why would NASA be worried about the public perception of aliens? I mean, leave Jaws alone, but, there are actually sharks in the sea. So if you're worried about the public perception of aliens, is that because there are actually aliens? Well, we all know the answer to that one, don't we? But I always found it fascinating how much has come out since Close Encounters that seems to match up with reality. So I wonder if there's a bit of that in disclosure. But Spielberg himself has actually said that he would actually have to have a close encounter of his own to actually 100% believe in the existence of extraterrestrial life. I don't believe him in that. I think he knows an awful lot more. But that's just my belief. Next point we are going to move on to today is Jeremy Corbell. Now, Jeremy Corbell's got a lot of slack recently because of the way he reacted to his papers for the Immaculate Constellation being given to Michael Schellenberger, who basically took the credit for it with Representative Nancy Mace in the hearing, at the UAP hearing.
Michael Schellenberger did not deliver those documents to Congress for congressional record. I did. Why does that matter? Right? That's kind of the question. So I said, first, people are going to say it's my ego. We saw that within seconds. Then, they're going to say it was confusion. We saw that day.
Yeah.
The one that's coming is they're going to tell everybody, just tell a little lie to protect somebody. That's the one that's coming. I'll explain that to you on another podcast.
And at first I thought, oh man, do you know what? You're really overreacting. And then I thought, hang on a second. Let's just step out of this for a minute. Let's step back and imagine you did all that work. Imagine you put in all of that effort and you're sitting there in Congress, very proud of what you've done. You were already expected to be called up to speak, but then they decided they weren't going to. So you're sitting there in the front row, you're handing over all your hard work to somebody else, and then they don't even mention your name. I tell you what, I would be pretty pissed off too, wouldn't you? I'd probably storm off. I've got a bit of a temper on me when I want to. So actually, having thought about it, I actually feel really sorry for Jeremy Corbell. And I know he's not everybody's cup of tea, but I think he's actually one of the good guys. I was talking earlier about people out there front and center that look like they're for disclosure, but I think it's a bit of a distraction and they're probably bought and paid for. In fact, I know they're bought and paid for. I won't mention names. Corbell, in my opinion, actually is one of the good guys. I think he's a bit rogue and they don't like him because they can't control him. It's a bit like Jason Sands. It was... Why did Jason Sands not get a News Nation interview like David Grush and like Jake Barber? Why? He instead had a few minutes on a James Fox documentary, which was great, by the way, and James did a great job. But why did Jason Sands come out in a different way? And I know the answer to that for me personally is because Jason doesn't conform to what everybody else wants him to do. He wants disclosure and he wants to get it out there. Everybody else is more willing to play this game that's being set for us, and I'm just not there for it. I mean, don't get me wrong, I've got a lot of time for Jake Barber. I hope to interview him on our show with Tom soon. It would be amazing. He's a proper lad, and he knows his stuff, and I'd love to talk to him. But Jason Sands doesn't play by anybody else's rules. He's also an incredibly modest person because he doesn't talk about all the stuff he's done in the background. I'm not going to mention it here, but a lot of the stuff that's happening at the moment you're seeing is because of his efforts and him connecting people to the right people. So I thank him for that. But yeah, I think Corbell's one of the good guys. I think that nobody likes him because they can't control him, and he's a live wire, and he's emotional, and he's got a bit of a temper on him when things don't go his way, and he spits his dummy out the pram. But I tell you what, so do I. And if you're being honest with yourself and you look deep inside yourself, I bet you could tell me that you spit your dummy out the pram every now and again, and especially if it was on like the world stage and you were expecting to get some credit. So maybe we should just all give Jeremy Corbell a bit of a break, Jeremy, buddy, I'm on your side. Come on the show. We'd love to have a chat to you. So that wraps up that's Immaculate Constellation. Now, talking about Nazca mummies, as I did briefly earlier, we've got Dr. Zalsay and Joshua McDowell coming on the show. We are recording with them this Sunday. Hopefully it's going to be a decent length episode, and we're going to go through the Nazca mummies in chronological order up to the date where we are now, what progress is being made. We had a 2-hour meeting with them the other day, sort of like a pre-interview chat. And I mean, even that was absolutely fascinating. There's a lot that I didn't realize, especially when it comes down to the public perception being that these things are fake and why people believe that they're fake, and the lengths the Peruvian government have gone to make people think that they're fake. So I'm not going to say much more about that now because I want them to explain it when that episode comes out next week. So keep an eye out for that. But Jason Sands is joining us for this episode as well. So he's going to be putting his 10 pence in and his opinion in on this episode, which is, it's going to be great. I love Jason. You all know I love Jason. He's my boy. He's my man. And also, when it comes to Jason, please head over and find, I'll put the link in the description below, but his first-hand fund that he set it up for whistleblowers to come forwards. Now, I know what you're thinking. Somebody in the UFO, UAP world asking for money, it's a grift, all this lot. It's not, please. You know, at some point, we have to realize that this subject field isn't just armchair entertainment. There are real people's lives at risk. There are real people that are losing their jobs. There are real people that haven't even got the money to pay for their flight, to go to Congress, to whistleblow, to get the safety that they need. This is crazy. If we want disclosure, at some point, we're going to either have to get off our asses and do something about it, or put our hand in our pocket. Now, the first-hand fund is done officially through a funding website. That means that your money is protected. I believe it's protected for a year. Nothing can be withdrawn from the fund unless we show receipts for what it's for. It's all completely above board. Nobody will be taking advantage of it. We're looking at putting in a board of directors right now. I'm getting involved with Jason with it. I've been talking to some other people to come on board and really start bringing this home. But please, please, please go and support. Any penny that you can give is going to go directly towards helping whistleblowers in their time of need. So if you want to be an active part of disclosure, like I'm sure you do, maybe now is time to put your hand in your pocket and put your money literally where your mouth is. Any support is greatly appreciated. So that wraps up this first episode of UAPOD Daily. I am going to start trying to do this Monday to Friday. Just a quick little update of what's going on. If there is anything you would like to see on this show, please leave it in the comments. And please do not forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. It really helps. Have a wonderful day, and I'll catch you next time. Bye-bye. For centuries, the desert sands of Peru have concealed a mystery unlike any other. Now, cutting-edge science is peeling back the layers of history, and what we're discovering changes everything. Are these ancient relics a lost species or proof of something not of this earth? On the next episode of the Unidentified Anomalous podcast, we go deep inside the mysteries of the Nazca mummies. Join us as we break down the latest discoveries with experts who have seen the evidence firsthand. Is this the greatest cover-up of all time, or the ultimate proof that we are not alone?